It changed my awareness about nature and about how things grow and about all that it takes to grow food and to grow healthy food and all the work and caring that goes into it.
It's time to start thinking about where does my food come from? How is it grown? Who's growing it? And can I trust that the people that are growing it, the farmers, are growing things in a safe manner, that they're not polluting the soil and the water, and that they're giving or selling me good, wholesome food that's not adulterated with things that are maybe shipped all around the world in this global economy we're getting into now.
Well, what we've been doing is trying to keep our sales of our produce and distribution as local as possible. And that's what people are more conscious of now, the idea of local, because you don't have to use fossil fuels that much to get your food. So we've been doing that all along. We've always been very local in our distribution and been very careful in our growing methods to use sustainable growing methods.
When I first moved to the east end of Long Island, I was amazed that we were in the middle of fish and farm country, but very few restaurants served anything that was local. I met Bette and Dale, and really in my quest for local food, I noticed that there was a big difference between what I was buying, both in taste, the way it looked, shelf life, and that's what first made me interested in organics, just because I thought it was a better product that I was serving. I always tell everyone the most important ingredient in any plate and any food is love. That goes into everything we serve, both in the plates and the way we serve it. What's great about Bette and Dale, when we met, I was driving around in my Mustang and buying tomatoes in Sagaponack and broccoli in Bridgehampton, and spent an awful lot of time driving around to get a product here, a product there. When I met you guys, you were so diversified that it made my life a lot easier, aside from being organic and wonderful produce. The diversification, the fact that Bette and Dale are growing 80 different crops and deliver from March through November is just amazing.
I think they've come up with this concept now of food miles. That's just hitting the airwaves now. How much how many miles has your food traveled before it's gotten to you, and how many calories of fossil fuel energy has it taken to get that food to you? And if you measure the value of the food in calories, say each human eats say 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day, and if it takes 10,000 calories to get that 2,000 calories to your table, then we're going negative, or you're using up the Earth's resources.
I've learned to be more conscious of everything, of where food comes from, how long before it became a public issue, which is very recent. The distance that food traveled, I always took it for granted. All summer long I'd be eating fruit, who knows where it came from. And when I met Dale, he taught me to start thinking about those things and about the energy that we use just to run our lives. Just turning on the lights, turning off the lights. Things I took for granted, I started to be more conscious of. He was way ahead of his time in that type of thinking and being aware of it.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with it just being my roots and something I knew something about, but I didn't really understand fully. But after I went to college and took courses in ecology and zoology and the botany and all kinds of things, and learned all kinds of things about plants and animals. And then when I thought about my basic roots of how I learned as a child to grow food, both plant and animal food, that I wanted to do. I fell in love with research, and that's when I was taking a lot of microbiology courses, a lot of chemistry courses. I liked the idea of finding new information, finding out what made things tick. And so with farming, I could combine that. I could look at the roots of where my food came from and how it was grown, and then I could look at the science and I could say, oh, this is how this works. And that's been fascinating to me. I was born in January 1949, a small family farm in Carroll County, Iowa, and first thing I grew up with was my 4 other brothers and sisters. You know, there was 5 of us, and if we each became, you know, better at doing one thing or another that needed to be done on the farm with all the different livestock and the grains and the crops that were being handled, we each did different things. And so we kind of learned to work as a team, as a family team, to grow crops, raise livestock, and to make a living there. When we were each probably a part of that survival of that family farm, and we just did it because it needed to be done.
We're together for our business and for our life too. So that's like, but he was used to that because that's how he grew up, on a family farm, where the people that lived on the farm lived together and worked together. So it was kind of a different kind of life than I was used to. I came from a family where my parents both had jobs, but the jobs had a beginning and an end. My father was an attorney and my mother was a secretary. So they went to work and they came home from work. When you're on a farm, there's no such thing. It's always there. There's always something that needs to be taken care of. There's always something that needs to be done.
Yes,